All right. Happy Tuesday from sunny, warm, humid Philadelphia. The summertime has hit for sure. So I hope you're all well. So this cancel thing is back. Yes, it's back. So funny, every time I look at this, I think it's back again. Tell a friend. It's always popping up. And so what I want to do is hit the highlights of the cancels. I've addressed this many times, and preventing a cancel is a process, right? Let me make sure this thing is pulled up. But preventing a cancel is a process. And no matter what, there was a discussion in another group this week that got lengthy and solutions, and no, you got to do this, and no, you got to do that. And the person who posted, well, I do that, I do this, and then later you see these questions pop up, and it's like, well, I got to check on that. So it's hard. It's going to be very difficult to make a change in a metric. The metric you use, cancels, is an effect. It's not the cause. So once you see the cancel rate has changed or worsened, you must go back and re-examine, right? Must go back and re-examine. Let's check the cancel rate, right? Let's see what has caused it to go down. Hold on one second. All right. Oh, there it is. All right. I just like to make sure it pops up. Okay. So so step one is, okay, we have a change. Step two is, how much has it changed from the norm, right? Before you get reactive, you must understand, is this a trend or is this a one-off thing? So if 1 week it got bad, you go back and look at the week before and look at what the week is. Because remember, it's a trailing metric. So once you notice it, you're going to have the data, you're going to have the interactions to show what caused it. And then once you know what caused it, you have to start asking yourself better questions again. Is this different? Is this the same? Is this an upward trend, or is this just the normal flow of a business? Right? Because here's something else you must consider and does not get considered. This chase to zero on a cancel rate is a losing chase. You're chasing your tail, literally. Your cancel rate will never be zero. Oh, my cancel rate's worse. Worse than what? So here's what I challenge people with. Your cancel rate should be run around 5 to 6%. So if it goes to 8, 9, 10%, okay. Yet, is that a trend? Right? So again, it got worse this week. Yeah. So what are you doing? Right? And then once you see it's changed, did the process get followed at the front desk? Yes or no? Is the process being followed by my providers? Yes or no? Right? Okay. What reasons are the people giving for cancels? Okay, these are the standard reasons. Okay, there's nothing. If you say yes, and okay, I see those are the standard 3 things people cancel for, right? Then there's nothing to be changed. There's nothing to be changed. So just because something trends up for a week or two doesn't I should say spikes up, not trends up, doesn't say you need to change it. It says you need to go, what's going on? Let me recheck my process. And what you may find is over the 2 weeks it trended, someone differently was managing the front desk. Right? Maybe you had a rash of people come in, which is possible, that weren't exactly the right fit for the company. These are the things that need to be examined before you start to change a process. And unfortunately, what I see is when people post, it's not only are they changing the process, they're making big, significant changes. Like, I'm going to change the way I pay my physical therapist based on cancels. It's like, holy shit, you better make sure this process is dialed in. Right? What's gathered at the front desk? How is that information used at the point it's gathered to do what? Manage and set expectations and build trust. Then that information I gather and do that with, how is that passed on to my providers, and how do they use it in their structure for their evaluation when they are selling a plan of care. Is that all being followed? If yes, then you go back and you have a bunch of cancels, then you may want to consider, right, your marketing, right? Are we getting the right people on the schedule? I mean, those are three huge, significant tasks that will take time, right, before you go approach, right, dinging the providers or dinging someone else for a cancel. Which again circles back to a cancel. You're always going to have cancels. This is the other thing people don't want to acknowledge, is that they haven't studied the trends, they haven't studied the metrics. So what is your normal cancels? So let's face it. I've got some comments from Brenda here that I'm going to look at. We're going to dive into in her clinic. Let me pull them up right now. Right, and Brenda has a women's health clinic. Right, cancels in a peds clinic, women's health clinic, geriatric clinic, and I'm talking outpatient. Neuro rehab, by the way, hospital, private practice, it doesn't matter. Neuro rehab, peds, women's health, especially postpartum, prepartum. Is it prepartum? Sorry. Postpartum or pregnant. Is going to be different, right? Musculoskeletal, all four of those are going to be different depending on where you are and what you manage. So again, I'm going to say this, you must understand the business. You must understand what? Your patient's life cycle. You must understand the person you serve. You must understand the legitimate reasons. If you're in the Northeast and you haven't budgeted in cancels because of weather, then you're lying to yourself, and you're always going to have a cancel problem. So this cancel rate thing is always, just like everything else in the business, this business as an ecosystem, right? These are downstream effects, right? Downstream effects. And then how do I fix them? Well, I just talked for 8 minutes on how to approach them to even see if they're a problem. So it took 8 minutes to talk about how to approach cancels and think about cancels. So it's going to take longer to then examine why are these going on, and are they a trend where something needs to be done? Do I need to retrain all my front desk? Do I need to grab one front desk person and potentially retrain them? Are my providers following through on the process of the evaluation, the process of the evaluation of selling a plan of care? Right? Are those two steps connected? Then and only then can you start to look to change a cancel rate. I hope at this point you all figured that this is, again, the work you did a year, 2, 3, 4 years ago when you set the business up to put these systems in place are the systems that pay off every day. Because they allow you to look at something like an increased cancel rate, an effect, and go, okay, let's go to the cause. Front desk, yes or no? Providers, yes or no? And then start from there. Yeah, if you can't ask yourself specific questions, you personally, like what are we collecting on the first phone? What is our cancel rate, right? How are we measuring it? Notice that popped up. If you can't answer stuff like that, if you can't truly answer, if you've never sat in on a provider evaluation, every one of your providers, to see how they're selling the plan of care, then you can't truly manage his cancel rate. If you've never sat at your front desk, if you've never done secret callers, then you can't answer the question about your cancel rate. I hope, 9 minutes in, it took me to say that. Yet I hope you all understand that at this point. This is a business, right, that is connected through what? Your patient life cycle. And you create that patient experience with the systems you build out. And the systems you build out have what in mind? Completed plans of care. Completed plans of care are a result of what? People arriving, among other things. So if you're working towards this common goal of a completed plan of care, if everybody in the business is working towards a completed plan of care, then your cancel rate will be at the minimum that you establish. If you've mapped out, let's go back again, because I talked about, and Brenda has again, I'm going to get back to this. Brenda has a clinic that's women's health. If you have a peds clinic, if you have a women's health clinic, if you have a neuro clinic where the cancel rate tends to be higher, then you understand this when you're mapping out your patient's life cycle and creating the experience you want to create. It's at that time that you can start to build in processes and systems within your business to minimize that. Maybe you double book, right? Maybe I don't know. I'm just throwing this stuff out there because this is the other thing about talking cancel rate. You figure out the cancel problem the same way, yet how you build a business around preventing it might be a little different, right? So Brenda brought up about care for the kids. Brenda mentioned there's 3 reasons why people cancel. Work meetings that get rescheduled over their appointment time, right? That's an issue for me. That one's preventable. These next 2 become business questions. How can we manage this better? Number 2 is taking a last minute vacation and we'll be out of town. That's interesting too. That may be a sign of the times. I don't know. I'm assuming so. Again, how you manage cancels during this COVID pandemic is going to be the same way you manage cancels outside of the pandemic, yet you're going to be a lot more direct and a lot more specific about this, right? And then number 3 is, this is a big one, because this is the biggest one I see, and I wonder which one is the most impactful. Childcare changes that limit them to getting to PT because they don't want to bring their kids with them, even though they tell them that's okay. So, it's interesting here with that, and I'm not going to try to solve that now, but there is a solution there somewhere, the childcare thing. Someone calls and says, I don't have childcare. Maybe, just maybe, I've run into this before in other clinics. You actually have childcare provided, and what that means is it might mean a dedicated space, but you always have one you always have one staff member that can rotate into this childcare role, right? Something like that. If that prevents 50%, 60%, 70% of those phone calls from turning into cancels, then you tell me that person wouldn't be worth the dollar. So again, you have to know how many people call to say they don't have childcare. You have to know how many of those people end up canceling. Oh, Brenda's here. Yeah, and Brenda, again, I haven't thought about this solution, but just thinking about it actually is this person that rotates into childcare, because I would assume this is the beauty, you could sell it on the website, because you would sell it on the first phone call. And oh, by the way, right, we do this for you. And so you could ask, and here we go, let's manage this now. So where do we solve this cancel problem with this childcare thing? You ask on the first phone call if they might be interested. Or you might not say might, if you would be interested, especially for the evaluation. So let's think about this. This is fun problem solving. So I want this patient to come in for the eval, because that's where they're going to see the value. That's where I'm going to sell the plan of care. That's where I got to get the buy-in. So what you could do on the first phone call is offer up that we do have childcare. Would you be bringing a child with you that you would want to put into the childcare for 1 hour? Yes. Well, then you would have a designation on the schedule. So you would know when you need that time, right? That childcare time. And you could have an employee or 2 rotating into this childcare position, whereas when there's no child there, no child care going on, they rotate back to doing other things. That to me, again, and if you'd have to run the numbers on that. right? How many people cancel because of child? It's obviously significant enough because Brenda's considered it. So having someone or two people that can rotate into that position from their other roles would be huge. To what? To get a person to arrive so that they can complete a plan of care. Now, I'm just going to throw this out. Completing a plan of care is huge for the patient and huge for the business. So how much would you be willing to invest to solve a cancel problem like that? Yet again, I took you back. It has to be sold and managed on the front desk, right? Has to be managed on the front desk on the first phone call. I, the person who want to use your services, need to know this. My expectations need to be managed and set. So I'll guarantee you, if I'm calling your clinic and I don't know this exists and I'm worried about it, I'm not, probably most of the time, not going to ask you if you have it, right? So then all of a sudden, I don't ask, and then I no-show for my eval, or I might cancel my eval, and I leave a message saying I can't get childcare, and you're like, damn, we have childcare, right? So it's got to be set. It's got to be managed and set on the first phone call. That's the gist of this Facebook Live today, is all this is best prevented, and I've done this through my own clinic and other clinics, so I have proof of this, right? You drop your cancel rate by managing expectations and setting expectations on the first phone call. So this person arriving knows what to expect through their course of care. And by the way, I love how the default in every group is, what is your cancel rate? What is your fee? We have found a fee to be helpful. I'm like, I would love to dig into your practice. Fee is helpful in keeping people in. It's kind of this carrot and stick thing. I want people arriving in the mindset of a completed plan of care. So let me give you an example of this right now. Now remember, this is all coming from this point of understanding my patient's life cycle, understanding that the first phone call to patient arrival, right, has stuff going on, right? Has stuff going on to build trust, to manage and set expectations. And then the provider is going to continue the conversation with the information gathered during phase 2 to continue to build trust and manage and set expectations so that you will understand you are in the right place and you will be bought into your plan of care. That right there will solve more cancel problems than anything else. Now, how do I cancel it further, or how do I manage it further downstream? How do I make sure they know it's all about them and not about me? A cancel fee is about me. That's about the business. Hey, Jerry, you canceled your appointment and we need to charge you money. Okay, why do you need to charge me money? Because you left us an empty slot. Well, that's not my problem how you manage your business. I am of the belief that you charge no cancel fee at all, because that tells people you're bought in. And what the conversation arose around them and their plan of care. And when is this sold? And when is this told? On the first phone call. And for all you freaking out and having fear around no cancel fee, I would say you don't understand your patient's life cycle. Again, it's a carrot and stick thing. Do the work to get people to stay. And if your cancel rate is above 10%, you're not doing the work to get people to stay. Now, I say that broadly. Again, if the floor, so let's just take the floor, whatever the floor is, right? You could be in a peds clinic, again, some of these other examples. Whatever the floor is, if it's higher than the floor, then you're not doing the work, right? Again, if Brenda adds child care, it's not going to have the impact unless people know it's available and how and why it's there. Even in Brenda's example, if I was running a women's health clinic, I want the moms to be in the postpartum, the new moms who may or may not have kids. That's the other thing. We can't assume, so we have to ask, right? I would make sure during the first phone call, they know I have set up my physiotherapy clinic to work with you and to move you through this process, because this is, a huge process for you. It's something big in life, and it shouldn't be difficult for you. You shouldn't have pain. You shouldn't have these problems. Also, you shouldn't have to run around looking for a provider based on if you have childcare or not. So what we've done here at ABC Physio is we provide you, Brenda, with childcare. Right? Holy shit, that's about me. That's a me thing. Right? That's me. You provide childcare for me to make my life easier because you understand the process I'm going through. Now, are you going to schedule with them, or are you going to schedule with someone else who says, I have a 10:30 on Thursday? Oh yeah, we're caring, we care about you. We want to get you back to what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. But then on top of all that, Brenda, we have childcare for you because we understand this process, and it's not easy. Now you're going, wow, I picked the right place. You haven't even hung up the phone yet from scheduling your first visit. Now I would argue, by the way, let's follow this through. So you're told on the first visit there's childcare at ABC Physio because we understand you and your process. Because we understand what it takes. Because we understand that the journey to being a mom is not easy. We understand the journey after becoming a mom is not easy. So we've created something for you. And we're going to make this as seamless and frictionless as possible for you. Now, you're told that on the first phone call. Then you get an email. Then you get a video from your provider. And all this is repeated over and over and over before you ever arrive for your first visit. You arrive for your first visit, and it's all delivered on. It's about you. It's about you. You bring your child. They're in the child care center, right? All this is going on. And you buy into your plan of care. And then down the road, a week later, right, you've had a couple visits. It's going well. You brought your child once. They were accommodated. Another time you didn't bring your child. It all worked out okay. And then on visit 3, you're at work, and you get a notice, let's go back to Brenda's example, of an appointment has been scheduled at 10:30 on Tuesday, and I have physio at 10:30 on Tuesday. Now I have a choice. It's a time to check my priorities. By the way, a cancel is a priority check. Right? Childcare is obviously going to take top priority over physio. So the question is, how will they prioritize you over the other things when they truly have a opportunity? A scheduled meeting is an opportunity to say no to the meeting and yes to you. So if all the way through this journey so far, you've been presenting them with it about being about them, and you've taken them through that, and you've delivered, and they have a meeting scheduled at 10:30 at work, they now have a choice to go, I need to reschedule that meeting. I need to go to my physio. So I started at the beginning about talking about how preventing cancels is a process. That's a process. People choosing their business meetings over physio consistently, not one-offs. Again, talked about this at the beginning. You're not looking for one-offs. People choosing business meetings over physio consistently means you don't have the process in place that they understand that it's all about them. Let's go back to the beginning of this when I talked about no cancel fee. That's the way you sell a no cancel fee. You tell people, look, here at ABC Physio, we've created this environment for you, right? We understand the journey you're going on. We understand your life. And because of that, we ask that you respect your scheduled visit times. Those times that you're on the schedule are for you. And by the way, you could couch this anyway, whether you do one-on-one care or not. Those visits are scheduled for you. And then you go on to tell them how you ask that if they do need to move that appointment, you ask for 24 hours notice or more. Because that time is reserved for you, and because if you're in that slot and then you cancel on short notice, then someone else has lost a slot. So we ask that you give us 24 hours notice. Now mind you, that little bit, everybody's going, that won't work. But I'm saying put that in the process that I explained where we're taking that new patient caller, female, through the fact that she's called the right place, that we have childcare. And then at the end of it, we just ask that you respect. By the way, you're asking that you respect their time. It's not me, it's you. We ask that you respect these visits because these are going to be the visits that your expert, Dr. Jane Doe, is going to map out for you when you get your plan of care. When you sit down and develop your plan of care with Dr. Jane Doe, it's going to be based on how long and how often you need to be here. That's why we ask you to get on the schedule and schedule out this plan of care. Because that's your journey, and that's how long it's going to take you. And when you do that, we know things in life come up, and all we ask for is a 24-hour call because those slots are for you, and it is one-on-one. And if you cancel late, then that impedes the ability of someone else to get the care that they need also. So that's all we ask for. So you're using, right? You're using reciprocity. It works. It works. If you understand the process. Now, there's a whole way to manage cancel calls when people call to get them rescheduled within that week, but I don't like that. When people say I have a cancel problem and I want to solve it, I say, are you trying to just change the cancel call, or do you want to prevent the cancels altogether? I just spent the last 25 minutes telling you how to prevent cancel calls from ever happening, right? It's understanding the patient life cycle. It's understanding the conversation you need to have on that phone call to make it about me, the patient, not you. It's about collecting wants and needs. It's about getting goals. It's about building trust. It's about continuing it during phase 2. And then it's making sure the provider has the information that's needed during the evaluation to continue the conversation, to continue the relationship that was set, so that person says, I'm in the right place. I'm in for my plan of care. And then things keep getting delivered, and then further downstream, a meeting gets scheduled. Who do they choose, right? Who do they choose? They're leaving on a last minute vacation. Okay, when, right? How quickly, right? Who do they choose? They need childcare. Well, you just presented them with the solution. And by the way, they know this beforehand, and they know the process. So you're not managing. This is the other thing. If they know this during the whole thing, then they're not calling and you're not having to explain all this to them, right? So let me see here. So again, this is it. This is it. I talked at the beginning about understanding what your cancel rate should be. What have you budgeted it for, right? I talked to you at the beginning about understanding, is it a trend or not? Okay, my cancel rate went up. Okay, no need for alarm. Let me double check who's been answering the phones. Same people. Okay, let me check who the physios are that have been treating this person or these people. Same people. Okay. No need for alarm. Maybe I double check. I record my calls. I go back and listen to a couple calls. Yeah. I double check the charts of the PTs. Yeah. Okay. It is what it is this week. We just happen to get a cluster of people canceling. Now, does it continue? Does it go on? Okay. All right. Then you have reasons. Don't react to things. Be proactive. That's a big thing. A patient life cycle is proactive. Wondering how you're going to cut your provider's pay based because of no-shows is reactive. Not understanding if they're selling the plan of care. That's the other thing. Go sit in on every provider's evaluation before you start talking about cutting their care. Cutting their pay. Go listen to phone calls of your front desk before you start talking about changing a process. The cancel rates, I dropped the cancel rate in more than half in my business by following this process. I have helped other businesses drop their cancel rates by following the process I just told you. This is work. Everything is work, man. And most of us, including me, for 10 years, had not put in the work. It is what it is. I got to end here because you can't step back and go, okay, yeah, I get it, Jerry, and then just go back and do the same thing. Right? Oh, there you go, Brenda. That's a good one too. So again, Brenda taking a little deeper dive. Okay, the cancels are up. What's going on? Well, people aren't getting the time slots that they actually need and want. They're taking the available slots and those slots aren't working for them. There's a business problem. And by the way, I love that, Brenda. Thank you for sharing that. That's not a PT fault. This is brilliant. So Brenda's digging into it. The cancel rate goes up when the scheduler gets full because people take times that aren't their best times. And these are moms. So again, we're back to, this is brilliant insight. We're back to let's find a business solution. Let's find a practice solution to this. Maybe Brenda brings in a part-time person, again, a PTA, a PT, who can rotate and float through some responsibilities to make sure that people keep their same times. Maybe Brenda comes up with a system that people start with a different provider and then meet with their regular provider at the end of it to accommodate these time slots. Is that work? Oh, fuck yeah. Will that be productive? Will that keep her patients happy? Fuck yeah. Will that keep her cancel rate down? Fuck yeah. But this isn't a provider problem, and it's not a front desk problem. It's a business problem. It's a great example. And so again, when it starts to trend up, you got to go back and look. And then all of a sudden, right, I usually come in at 10 o'clock because that's after the kids get off to school and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm at 12 and now I'm cutting it close, right? Or now I'm at 1 and I'm really cutting it close. So now I'm at 1, which means I'm going to have my kid with me, right? Do you have a solution? Oh, that's cool, Brenda. That's fine. We do have childcare. Bring your child with you. Right? And then you have your systems in place where someone knows in advance that Brenda's bringing her child at 1 o'clock. And then the person who needs to roll over rolls over to childcare. So I give you the template and the structure for figuring this all out. That's what we're doing right now. I told you got to understand the life cycle, how it's connected, what the front desk is responsible for, what the providers are responsible for. And then Brenda starts to put in this information. We say, cool, let's solve the problem. Right? And by the way, I love this because this feeds back to the example I gave where Brenda said when the schedule gets full. Right? So I told you how on the first phone call I get people to schedule out. Why? Well, you know what I love? I'm doing a batch of secret callers right now. And I'm told to schedule out because how busy the business is. How about you tell me you want me to schedule out because it's important to you, the person answering the phone, that I get the care and the time committed to me that I want. So this fits perfectly with Brenda's problem, is you've got to make sure, and it's not your front desk going, let's get you scheduled out, we're busy, because that's what most people would hang up from this and do. No, it's build it in to the conversation about me. And I already did that. Roll this back when I went through that and was talking about how the cancel policy, how there is no fee. Without seeing this, I brought up how it's important for you to be here, how it's important for us to make sure you can be here and get people in the slots they need. Then it's Brenda's responsibility. This was funny. This cancel problem is Brenda's responsibility as the owner of the clinic. Not the front desk, not the providers. Right? And I rarely see a post in a physical therapy group that says my cancel rate's gone up and it's because I'm fucking up. My front desk is fucking up. My providers are fucking up. Oh, we have to hold everybody accountable. Oh, the providers, right? They ask for all this money. I'm like, so set them up for success. Why do you keep setting your providers up for failure? Right? Brenda steps back and goes, look, the problem is I don't have availability. The business doesn't have availability. So what can we do? That's awesome. Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate that. So, here we are. This is a great conversation. The cancel rate will never be solved during the time of the phone call, right? We reschedule people. And by the way, that whole spiel I just gave you on the Planet Carrot, that conversation continues 3 weeks later when Jerry or Brenda calls to cancel. Well, Jerry, I know it's really important to your physical therapist, Jane Doe, that we keep you on this frequency and duration based on that plan of care. So when would you like to reschedule this week? Again, I'm rescheduling you based on you getting towards your goals and completing your plan of care, not a cancel fee. I love that. I love when you call a clinic and say I need to cancel. Okay, Well, there is a cancel fee. That's about the business. Well, it works. Oh yeah, it works. I know it works, but nobody's running out to tell the world about you, because you deliver on expectations like they expected, like any other healthcare practice. Someone saying, well, Jerry, let's get you back on for this day because I know it's important to you and your physical therapist to get that plan of care completed. I've got a Thursday at 10:30 and a Friday at 3. Which one works for you? Yes, I had a schedule that day, but I've kept this person on track with their 2 visits this week. And if I have a wait list, then I start calling the wait list. So it's a win-win-win for everybody. The solutions are here. You can't manage them at the cancel call. You've got to understand the process. You've got to understand how it's connected. You've got to understand what your metrics are telling you. You've got to understand where to look. And then you've got to understand what, if anything, you need to change. All right? Great conversation. Thank you, Brenda, for throwing that all out there. I think that's a great example. And if you take the examples I use for Brenda, it'll work in any other clinic. A neuro clinic, a peds clinic. You know, to me, peds is the most challenging. Right? So what are you going to do? How are you going to structure this? And what kind of budget are you going to build in for cancels? Because there's no way you can budget 5% cancel rate in a peds clinic. I know that already. So when you budget in the cancel rate, what's that look like? Do your prices have to go higher? Right? I would highly assume you've got people that need to play multiple roles in a peds clinic too. And it has to be a slightly different structure. Maybe a little more of, you know, two-on-ones and things like that. Yet that's for you to figure out. Once you figure out your patient's life cycle and how you're going to connect these dots, who you can serve. That's the other thing I love about Brenda's clinic. She knows who she's serving, so she can get to a solution. That's the other huge takeaway here. Brenda understands the needs of her ideal client, of the people she can serve best. And she's dug even deeper in here. And I can see, yeah, you start fucking up a mom's schedule that's built around the kids, or built around their life, I should say, sorry. That has kids included in it. You start moving that shit around, then you, the business owner, are asking for trouble. Wow, my patient keeps canceling. Well, wow, you haven't given her the time she needs, and you know she's managing 2 kids, one in daycare, one in, you know, grammar school, right? And then you got the musculoskeletal office that rarely considers any of this. Yet you need to start considering who is your ideal client, what are they doing during the day, right? What are their priorities? Yet the conversation isn't going to be much different, right? Isn't going to be much different. Because the conversation with the musculoskeletal patient is going to start out exactly the same as I've run through a couple times here. It's about you, your plan of care, your needs, your wants, right? I always find it interesting when I do the secret callers and people say, well, yeah, this is what we do for everybody, right? For everybody, for everybody. I'm like, that word everybody has to get banished. All right, Jerry, for you, what I have for you, what we can do for you, what I'll do for you, you, your. You can't use the word you and your on the first phone call enough. It's got to be about me. Yeah, I'm going through this again on the secret callers. And it's funny, by the way, for the record, what was timely about this, I'm getting on a group call this week to discuss cancel rates. And I'm secret calling those clinics. So I'm going to leave it all up to you to think about what those first phone calls are going by. They all have high cancel rate. So based on what I just told you, do you think the phone calls are going as I said or not? By the way, I'll tell you a little secret too. Step 1 is pick up your fucking phone. It's crazy. I'm calling to do business with these people, right? So, and if your voicemail picks up, give me a reason to call back. I've worked on voicemails with people before. That's a little secret too. Make the voicemail about me. You can do it. I've taken people through this before. You can do it. All right. I appreciate this greatly. Brenda, thanks for chiming in. I hope I helped you out a little bit too. And again, with Brenda's thing, I just want to come home with is, she has 2 or 3 reasons why people are canceling. And if you look at the bottom effects, it might be prevented, right? The scheduling, the meeting things, right? All that may be prevented if I know this is all about me. And I'm not saying you're not doing that, Brenda, but yet, right? Is that a result of people not having the appointment times, or, the running off on vacation? I'm going to say you're going to have to write that off. These are crazy times. People are looking for especially people with kids. I don't have kids. I don't understand. If I did have kids, I'd be looking to get away every fucking weekend, or every possibility, and school's supposed to start. So that might not change. But yet some of these other things that trickle down to people calling and saying, well, I can't come in today, that stuff will disappear if they know it's about them and their plan of care. Remember, they have a choice to make. They have a priority. When they pick up that phone, they have a priority. Which one's going to win, you or them? You or the other one? All right, I'll appreciate you guys listening in. And feel free to comment below. Feel free to reach out to me about this. I've got a couple sales courses out there floating around, my Facebook Lives. I'll go through this stuff. It all talks about how to prevent these cancels, and it goes deeper. And I'm happy to have that conversation with anybody. Cheers.